right, it being 6:30, I'll call the meeting to order. We've got quorum, we've got 5 of us here. We are going to skip over the minutes, they'll be ready for us at the next meeting. And we'll start right in on budget hearings. DPW,
All right.
introduce yourself and
DPW. I got a pretty straightforward budget. We made a real good correction last year in the stormwater management, doubling that line, so salaries will go untouched at the moment. Our bargaining unit is up for contracts, so I'm sure Ashley can expand on that later. The let's see, the road and machinery, that's our parts and labor, basically our mechanical account. That's the one we're looking for a little bump, about 7%. Cost of labor, cost of parts, just trying to keep up with that. That'll be more or less a perennial ask, I believe.
Mhm.
Let's see, expenses.
this is in-house maintenance, not what you sent out for? Or is there?
It's combined.
It's
What we
combined,
do
okay.
in-house and trucks that we send out for,
Okay.
to outfitters and things we can't handle in-house.
Yeah. Okay.
The expense is right there. Uniform allowance is staying the same. Dam maintenance and repair, that's staying the same. Grounds, that'll stay the same one more year. We picked up our last option year with CCL, the landscaping company that does the common, all the mowing, plowing, whatnot. Like I said, stormwater management, that is staying the same, as well as the construction drainage, since we're able to get that additional, basically split that in half and give ourselves an actual stormwater budget to get rid of our catch basin waste, which is a rather costly undertaking, so.
Catch basin waste, you mean when the trucks go and they
Correct.
You've got a specific place you have to bring them?
We do, we have to get it tested, make sure it's not hazardous, once it's cleared. This year, it's going to Agawam, Bondi Island, it's a landfill out there. Typically, it's a landfill place that we target, and with help from CMG, the environmental outfit out of Sturbridge, they do the testing of all the materials, make sure it's acceptable. We have to, basically a little process, we gotta tell them where it came from, how much came from what location, just a little bit of a history of the material, and then they take it for a fee.
Do you know, just out of curiosity, have you ever had it tested and come back and say, yeah, hey, you can't dump this here?
No,
No.
not to my knowledge. Yeah, that's pretty,
Right.
pretty straightforward. It's pretty much of a,
Hoping that day never comes.
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. I mean, this is probably as close to a level funded as you're gonna get. Tree units staying the same, road repair and paving, that's staying the same as well for now.
Andrew, quick question. Why wouldn't we put cistern maintenance into the DPW? Not, I'm looking to add more work for you, but
From last week you're talking about?
from last week, yeah. The actual maintenance of the cisterns.
And that was in which
That was in fire department.
fire department?
Right, it's in fire department. Why?
Because they were the ones, all right, go ahead,
I
sorry.
I think I had made the initial request, still for some internal discussion, but not out of the question that we could potentially move it over to DPW. It was just that cistern maintenance, for a better term, was kind of a fire department function. In the fact that the use of the cisterns benefited the fire department versus public
Okay.
works.
But I would just think that you're better equipped to deal with things like that underground and repairs, concrete repairs, which is not, I could understand if the fire department was responsible for checking them once a month, to make sure the water levels are right, to make sure the pipe or whatever.
Who would do the routine maintenance? Like, I think they were talking about some of the gauges that they need to.
Yeah, they've been
fix.
going out and doing like the inspection, some minor maintenance stuff on them. But if it was underground work, we'd probably bring in DPW, especially with the equipment.
Okay.
Right, that's why.
That falls under Southbridge Water. Whitewater provides that water through,
Yeah.
and they supply those hydrants.
It's, sorry,
Yeah.
the cisterns.
Okay, yeah, I thought we were talking.
Yeah,
hydrants.
just the big water tanks that, you know, it just seems to me that it would be a DPW maintenance kind of project versus a fire department kind of
Yeah,
project.
say if you guys are in support of instituting it, we could look at the appropriate budget line for it to go into. It's really a fire department request versus it being a DPW request at this time, but it may, live better in the DPW budget.
To me, it would make more sense, although what I would like to have you do maybe is get in touch with the fire chief and ask him, so what does the maintenance involve?
Yeah,
And
certainly.
if that's something that fits into your mission versus the fire department.
Can have that conversation, see what it
Yeah,
entails.
yeah, and who knows, maybe, I'm guessing it's something that doesn't make much sense, and we keep it where it is, but I know, common sense just
Yeah,
seems to
new,
me it
new
should be.
line item, new thing for us to tackle, so we just gotta find the right home for it.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions of our DPW chief? Any issues? You also gonna go through the snow and ice removal? Ashley, is that,
It's level funded, so
right, it's
we
not
don't touch
really
that
an
one,
issue,
because
but,
that's the one that we have to at least leave budgeted
Yep,
to be able
Okay.
to have to spend it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, we can though. The same as it was
no, I
last
just
year.
didn't know whether we wanted to bring it up now or
I added it in there in case we
What
did.
about capital?
in capital,
Next.
do the next.
Capital, we can go over capital. So I got a 5-year capital for you. The first year, 2026, initially I was thinking one Freightliner, which is our snow plow sander trucks, the big ones you see with the silver backs, spreading all the salt around town. Typically, an every other year approach for purchase is kind of been successful, although we just had to sideline a sand salt truck last month. That thing, it was a 2001, and we had a transmission issue and a clutch issue, and by the time we took the salt spreader off the back, did a little more invasive search through and cleaned it up, we found that the frame was just about gone. Suspension was gone in the rear. The cab mounts were
This is a
gone.
4-year-old truck?
This is a 2001, 25-year-old
Oh,
truck.
I'm sorry, I thought you said 21.
No, we anticipated it was gonna be towards the end of life. We were trying to get one more winter out of it, which ultimately we did. So we met that goal. But that led me to the discussion about possibly going for 2 trucks this fall, with the lead time on these trucks being 2 years and over at this point. Before 2020, it was a year out. If you ordered a truck, you knew you would have it for the following winter. Now, there's no guarantee in that. At least 2 years, and we also have a 2000 truck, another 2001 truck, that, just looking down the pipeline, those are gonna be, replaced in the near future as well. See what we can get out of them, hopefully a few more years, but that's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
What's the average age of all the trucks? So we got 2001s, what? do you
So
have
we're
a
spread
list?
out for over 24 years. We got 2 trucks this past year that we ordered in 2022.
Okay.
We finally just got them this fall, just before winter. After the 2000s, early 2000s, I think we have a 2004, 2007, 2010, 2011. And at that point, I think is when we started going about every other year. So there might be a 13, a 15, a 17. We have about a dozen trucks, large trucks for sand, salt, and plowing.
Those older ones are getting due.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
You can
I
deal
mean,
with those.
there is a lifespan on these when
Yeah.
they live in the salt. We clean them as best we can, try to maintain them. And I think if you're getting 20, 25 years out of these, you're doing pretty good.
Is there anything else you're waiting for as far as?
No, nothing on
Machinery.
order.
Did the sweep, what was it, the sweeper?
Sweeper came
last-
in, we got that rather quickly, I think it was about 6 weeks. I was in talk with them prior to, so, and they had said that they'll have it in stock, so that was rather straightforward. The other capital purchase here we got from last year was a pickup, and that was the same thing, it was a matter of weeks. And happy to advise that the salt shed roof has been repaired, and that's been taken care of as well.
Can I
Did you
just-
want to continue down the year progression, or are we just sticking with 2026 for now?
Can I just ask a question about your form?
Okay.
So you have Freightliner 3 times. And I follow that because it's different years, or you wanted to show that there were gonna be 2 that you're asking for in
That's,
2026?
yeah, I just wanted to spread it out, make it very obvious that
That there were 2 separate
it's
ones?
two separate
Sure.
trucks.
But then if I follow the last line of Freightliner down to 2030, is that not to replace the one we would get in 26? That's
No,
to
that would
replace
be
different
a
one.
replacement of a 2003
2007
or
or
something
something.
like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Right. No, I just put that on there as an every other year schedule for
Okay,
now,
we're gonna keep doing this, yeah.
hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
Have you, I know you just received your 2022 order, you said?
Yep.
Have you checked with them recently to see if it is in fact 3 years out?
Yeah, we have talked to them on the last delivery, and they said to expect 2 years at this point.
Okay.
It was a year for a while, then it was 18 months, now it's grown to 2 years, so I don't know if that's gonna grow to 2.5 years in the near future, or if it's gonna get better.
And you do in fact pay the entire balance up front?
Yes.
Nice for them.
I don't
Yeah,
think you
no,
have to pay
remember
for them
that-
until you receive them,
That's true.
yes, so no.
Oh, sorry,
he
I
would-
misunderstood. It
We
would
would sit, we would sit on the money until,
pay upon
yeah,
receivership,
they get
sorry.
the
Okay,
truck.
we'd approve it.
Correct.
For,
Cause yeah,
The
we have to
2026
allocate
budget.
the money, so you would have to approve it for him to be able to say, yes, we can buy them.
yeah,
And then once you do that, then when he gets the trucks, then we issue the check.
But they can't increase the price even if it's 2.5 years, because we've agreed upon that?
Right.
Correct.
It takes them that long to complete the process.
Sure.
okay.
But it does tie up our money
Yeah.
for that long.
Understand.
It's the same thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the fire department.
Yep.
We buy a fire truck, we sit on that money or whatever we gotta do if we borrow money.
Yeah.
But we're still
Fire
gaining
engine, you have to
interest,
pay
right?
upfront though. This one, you wouldn't have to pay upfront, so we could keep our money longer. Fire engine, you have to give them the money right away.
And we'll earn interest on our money,
We could on we can't on the fire engine,
Right.
we could on those trucks.
the Freightliner, okay.
Is the company that makes these American? Is like an American product?
Freightliner, yes. That's what we've gone with for the last 12 years.
I just didn't know if there could be additional challenges that come funding-wise if it's not American-made.
Parts probably do come from overseas, some of them. I couldn't tell you all aspects of the vehicle are made here in America, but it's an American company.
Okay, thank you.
I think though, Jim, it will have an impact in that if you can't get a Doosan or one of these foreign, because of the cost or whatever, you're gonna start going to Freightliner and say, okay, I need another truck, and they're just gonna back order Freightliners, or Peterbilts, or Max, or
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm just thinking
So-
if we're already 2 years out right now and things get more challenging, when are we in trouble if we don't have enough trucks that can actually service the roads?
Correct, yeah. So that's part of why, you know, I'm looking for the 2 in anticipation of these struggles.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, the other reason, it's cost prohibitive to fix the ones you have. It gets pretty expensive to keep fixing older trucks, more things break
Yeah,
down.
right. This one that we sidelined this winter, that's what it came down to. It's, you know, it just kept happening over and over and again, and how long do you string it out for?
Yeah.
And then this one actually just became a safety issue, so we had to shut it down. There was no other option.
Right, your maintenance budget goes up in replace of not getting the replacement truck, so it's counterproductive at some point.
People-wise, you're in good shape?
Excuse me?
Personnel-wise, you're in good shape?
Actually, we just had one resignation, but we are doing interviews tomorrow. That, I think today was the last day it was posted, but we'll keep it open till that position's filled.
Do you have a running list of all of the different equipment that we have in town and like its age, just so that we kind of would have a sense of like, okay, now we've talked about the Freightliner, but maybe there's a front loader that you're gonna need to talk about, or maybe there's a, I don't know, whatever.
Well, hopefully if he needs the front end loader, it's on this chart.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Between now and-
not in the
But I
very
guess
near
I'm-
future, but we have an inventory. I can certainly supply you with it if
Yeah,
you're
I
curious.
just, I don't know how many different pieces of equipment we even have in town, so.
Okay.
Sound like, you said, what, about 22 trucks? Somewhere in,
But that's
Probably
just
about
the
20 trucks,
And
2
tractors
loaders,
and
2
loaders.
backhoes, grader, grade all,
Yeah.
2 roadside mowers. And then we have smaller equipment, skid steer and small mowers,
Mhm.
trailers.
What else? Any more questions?
Do we get anything, what do you do with the trucks you've pulled off of the road?
We salvage what we can. If we have a match to it, we'll use it for parts off of it,
Yeah.
and ultimately it'll go to auction.
Do we get that money?
We get that money, yes.
Oh, that's good, okay.
Yeah, the problem is a 22-year-old DPW truck isn't gonna get you much.
The
But
value
they
is
all
probably
know
scrap.
what this truck has been through.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if it's $1,000, it's $1,000, but it's not sitting in a landfill somewhere.
No, that's where you look, you look for a farmer somewhere that needs a
Yeah,
truck for hay from the field, that
Yeah.
the barns
that's great.
kind of thing. All right, I think we're all set.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Answered all my
Excellent.
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we could just get a list of equipment, just so we got it for our records.
I'll get it
that'd
for
be- That'd be great.
Thank you.
And we were so worried, we gave him a half hour.
Right?
It's good to be
Thank you.
efficient, thank you. So that means we get cemetery and facilities quicker. Oh, you got something to add to this? Oh, facilities, okay.
We'll start with cemetery first, because that's old hat for me.
I was gonna say, you got practice at
I've
that.
been doing that for 25 years now, so I got that down to a science. And it's very small list.
All right. If you'd like to introduce yourself to the committee here.
Good evening, everybody. My name is James Burlingame. I'm the Cemetery and Facilities Director for the town.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, walk us through your budget.
Okay. Well, we have several line items full-time for salaries. My salary, I have 2 laborers, so those are in there. We level funded them as per the directive. Those will be adjusted once they come up with the figures for the non-union personnel. We have an expense line item for $15,000. We are gonna level fund that from last year, so we can do that. We'll carry that over for 1 more year for the time being. Overtime, we're actually funding overtime fees through grave opening expenses through revolving fund, which is pretty much pertains to grave opening expenses, what we take in for money. Anything over for like a weekend burial, after-hours burial, holiday burial, we charge funeral directors and/or families above and beyond the normal rate, and that covers all overtime expenses for those. So it's self-funding for that. We did add a couple of things to that. We purchased a cemetery tent last year because we're finding ourselves doing more and more services with families direct in the line of a cremation burial. A lot of times, like a funeral director will charge anywhere between like $300 to $800 to, schedule and orchestrate the graveside services. So a lot of times now, in an effort to conserve on money, families will just, we'll just go to the cemetery directly. So we imposed a fee last year. I spoke with my Board of Cemetery Commissioners and other towns. They're charging a fee for no funeral director present, so we charge $100. So it's much cheaper than having a funeral director do it, but still it puts a lot more burden on us. I'm not a licensed funeral director, but a lot of times when you work with the families, you have to hear all the issues, and sometimes there's a lot of them. So, long story short, so we do have a fee in place for that, and it helps just go towards that revolving fund to fund all these things that we provide for these graveside services, lowering device, screens, equipment, so on and so forth. So again, it's self-funding, so it's working out pretty good that way. So that's why we can keep the budget pretty much, bare bones. So those are the 4 line items. We have a stipend for the elected officials. I think I'll just stay as to where it was last year. For the capital plan, I have it. Do you have, no, they don't have it?
I didn't give it to them, no.
You want to make some copies? Huh? Some
I
more?
can, yeah.
The cemeteries is now located down at the DPW.
Nope, the cemetery is, right now, we are still over at West Ridge, the main cemetery. My office is downstairs at the town hall, but now that I'm in the town hall all the time with the facilities, it's working out great, so.
Good.
But I do work closely with Nick, and he works with me. He borrows my equipment, I can borrow his, so we have a really good working relationship, so it's working out good that way. But I think eventually, we do need a building. I'm kind of, jumping.
I was gonna say, because year after year, you were after buildings.
We-
and I
and we
didn't
still
see
are.
anything this year. And I was like, okay.
With the construction of the new fire department, Station 2, I talked with Andrew, we're looking at the old Station 2 location. Logistically, it's perfect, it's right in the center of town,
Yeah.
it's closest to our main cemetery. As the facilities, end of my job grows bigger and gets legs under it, so to speak, you have all that stuff right in the center of town, so you have a nice space right there. The building, it's not that great, but you know what, it's dry, we can keep equipment in there and not keep it outside where people could just go up to it any time and do whatever they need to do. But it's definitely something that we can look at. I think logistically, it'd probably be a great place because you got electricity, you got telecommunications, there's sewer, water,
I'm
so.
sorry, do we own that?
Yeah, so we
I
own the
thought we
building,
rented it.
and I think more or less, like, once we get,
No, I think they rent the Kwanzaa hut down in Charlton City.
yeah, so once fire moves out of that building, we try to do some, some structural improvements to it, because we know right now that's kind of one of the main reasons why we're trying to get fire out of there. So, shoring up some of the structural members in there. Might need a new roof, new siding, new doors, just kind of, slap some paint on the outside and try to make it look like a newer building for their purposes. But I think for what they'd be using it for versus protecting the fire equipment there, I think it's a much better fit.
Oh, makes sense. For some reason, I had them reversed. I thought that was the one we rented. And I'm thinking, okay, finally, we can move out of there and just be done with that building.
Right. But to echo what Andrew said, yes, it's cramped for big fire apparatus and equipment, but for what we have, 1-ton dump truck, mini excavator,
Right.
smaller equipment, it would fit the bill really well.
Yeah.
So like he said, we'll dress up the facade a little bit, put a good roof on it, keep things dry, and it'd be a good asset for us.
Okay. Go through your 5-year.
So a 5-year, FY 26, 27, 28, we're looking at repaving some roads in some of our cemeteries. I put a little description. We want to start out with West Ridge Cemetery. That's the main cemetery across the street behind the library building. The lower roads were probably done back in 1996. I put a cost estimate of about $34,000 in parentheses prevailing wage work. These aren't hard figures. I'm kind of shooting from the hip on these based on some of the figures we had from prior. So I think this would get us in the ballpark, but these aren't hard numbers. I talked over with Nick. We measured the roadways. He gave me some of his price per ton. So I went a little above because we will have to hire a contractor. So just kind of, I went about 14,000 over what we came up with, just to add in for that cost escalation for hiring a contractor. Because again, it is prevailing wage work.
Right.
We're required by law to pay it. It's a bummer, but it's part of the deal. So right down the line, I go to the other cemeteries. We have a cemetery on the corner of Route 20 of 169, that's called Union Cemetery. Those roads haven't been paved in over 50 years, some of the roads in that cemetery. So we definitely got our money's worth out of them. Fortunately, we don't have as many roads in that cemetery, so I put the price at $24,000, using the same type of equation, mathematics, if you will, for West
James, is
Ridge.
that still an active cemetery?
It is. It is.
There's
Not
still
very
areas.
active.
I was gonna say, there can't be
We
too
do
many.
have a handful of lots there, and we do have a few people to go in there. So it is active technically, but it's not one of our high, that was actually a privately owned cemetery until 1964. In December of 1963, that was a private City Union Cemetery Corporation. All the trustees had passed away. One of the surviving sons of the last remaining trustee, they had a heavy affiliation with the Charlton Woolen Mill. He didn't want no part of the cemetery, so they petitioned the town and the Board of Cemetery Commissioners, who were very reluctant to take it over because all their records got lost in the flood of 1955.
Oh, jeez.
So it was kind of a quagmire, but at town meeting in December, they ended up with it, and here it is, still ours. So, it's not, like I said, it's not a very active cemetery, not many roadways, so I put this price on there, and I think this would probably get it, hopefully all set for another 50 years. FY '28, we're looking at Northside Cemetery. We did some paving work with the Highway Department back in 2006. Again, not many roads in that cemetery either, so we're probably looking at $22,000 over there for that. They now address all the paving issues. 2029, we're looking at replacing a 2012 John Deere utility loader tractor. The tractor's a machine we use to backfill graves when we have full grave opening operations, utility work around the cemetery and so forth. Basically a small front-end loader. I put a price at $39,000. That's not hard numbers. When we bought that tractor back in 2012, I think we paid $16,000, but with all the price increases and cost escalation, I'm sure that's, 39 might be 43 or 45 by
I
the
was
time
gonna
it gets
say,
closer to
I
that.
think you're a little low on
Yeah,
that
right.
myself.
And for 2030, we have a 1-ton F-350 pickup truck with a plow. At that time, we bought that truck in 2017, it was $29,000, and we put the plow in for another $5,000, but I think we're gonna be looking at $70,000, and who knows, it might be even more by then, so,
You plow the cemeteries?
I do,
That's why you have to have your own plow truck, it's not
Yeah.
covered under
No.
DPW.
no.
Okay.
Do you plow the town hall too?
Come again? No, that's done by a private contractor,
Okay,
under the DPW.
okay.
I believe they provide the sand, they sand the parking lot, there's plow, but it's still, at this time, it's hired by a contractor. But someday, who knows?
All right.
So that does it for the
Anything else on
cemetery.
cemetery? Well, we're still on cemetery before we move to facilities. All right, put that one aside. Municipal offices.
I'm gonna follow Andrew's lead on this one.
All right, so pretty much same thing with the salaries, we just kept them level for now until we make a final determination on that. I'm trying to get a little bit more granular this year, looking back on historical cost spend as it related to the supplies and services. So pretty much level fund for sewerage, we did see, like, based off historical trend, we had increased it for the prior fiscal year, but I think we can kind of drop it back down a little bit. We'll keep tracking that to see where it is year to date, to see if we have to tweak it before the end, but I think that we'd be in a good spot to just kind of make a minor lower modification to that. For building repair and maintenance and equipment and expenses, you'll see a big drop in equipment and expenses and a marginal increase in the building repair. Just looking back at kind of what our typical spends were for that, a lot of things that were being classified as expense and equipment were really kind of repair items. So kind of flip-flopping some of the costs with that, and really, it's still a reduction. We did have a big increase in that expense line last year, so I think we can kind of bring it back down to the level from the prior year with the increase of the building repair. Just looking at costing out specifically, the HVAC, elevator, security, boiler inspections, generator maintenance, fire extinguishers, and just everything else that we don't know about on repair. Custodial expenses, that's pretty much level fund. Again, expenses and equipment. Looking at pest control, copier, printer supplies, shredding, document management, postage maintenance, cemetery, central office supplies for pretty much everybody else, and then custodial supplies. So that would be essentially that line item. And then energy utilities, just looking at where we were last year and year to date, it looked like we were kind of trending lower, so I did reduce that budget line item. That might be something that we look back on, just, one of the big items, and that was phone. We did have, as Jeff had discussed at his hearing, we did do a major modification to the phone system, so which should actually reduce the cost of our maintenance. So we're kind of playing that for our anticipated reduction. The heating oil, broke that down by each building, and electricity supply and delivery. Delivery might be another thing we have to take another look at, just based off of, everything that's been in the news with the delivery costs increasing, so just want to see how we're tracking year to date on that, but generally, I think we could come down a little bit from where we were going into this fiscal year.
So this one budget covers every building in town?
For the most part. Primarily this building, a lot with the library. DPW is pretty self-sufficient within their budget. Fire and police as well, they have their own maintenance expenses, but this does cover the heating oil expense for library, town hall, police, DPW, and both fire stations.
All right, so there's a lot of different places where they kind of overlap.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, but like the building repair and maintenance, that's pretty much this building. It's primarily the
Okay,
energy
that was gonna,
utilities
that
is
was
all the
leading to
other
my
ones.
next, right, because we got the police department saying, hey, I
Yeah.
need this, I need that,
Yeah.
okay. Doesn't come under this.
No,
this budget.
that usually lives within their own budgets.
Yep. What else we need to know about the buildings and all the rest of it?
If I could add a couple of things maybe for, like, capital considerations for the for upcoming, we're looking at doing a roof, like, I had a contractor in there today doing some patching on that roof on the south wing. That hasn't been done, I've been here for 25 years, it hasn't been done 25 years, so it's probably closer to 30. They usually average about 40, so we're kind of nearing the end of the lifespan of that roof. It does leak. Good thing is, it only happens when it rains, so it's not horrible. But,
So who puts together the capital budget? Is that, James, your responsibility?
that's,
Yeah, so we're
yeah.
working together on that, and then in the FY '26 plan here, I do have it listed out. I just put a placeholder number of 150,000 on that, and I think if we did that roof, we'd look at doing potentially the slate roof over the center as well. That one's
Yep.
pretty
Yep.
worn. And then considering where we were at, if we could do that, do the north wing, if that's. I
See,
think
when they
that's-
they did the north wing back in 2006, because at that time, that was the problem. So they addressed that, and they actually did some shingle, they took off some slate in the back, and they replaced it with asphalt shingles, because it's in the back of the building, so it doesn't really make much of a difference, because you can't see it anyhow. They wanted to keep the slate, obviously, because it's slate roof, and it looks pretty from the road, and that's what everybody sees, so, but, that said, slate is very expensive, and there's very few contractors that even want to get involved with that, so that's going to be considered a specialty item. So to echo what Andrew says, that's going to be, that will bring up the price a little bit, but it has to be considered, because you got to keep the place, dry. Another thing that we need to look at is windows. Same thing, they did the windows, they phased them in, I think they started around probably 2003, 2004. Windows on the north wing are horrendous, they leak very badly. So we gotta start, probably same thing, either phase it in, like.
And they're
get the
probably
work-
all single pane windows.
Well, no, they're double pane Harvey windows. They're not bad windows, but what didn't help their cause is years ago, we had big, huge air conditioners hanging out of the windows because we didn't have the heat pumps and the mini splits, so to speak. So that really put a lot of wear and tear on, because there's such a big, window. It's just a lot of weight hanging off of them. So they're falling apart, quite literally, and you can't get parts for them. We had a couple of, since I took over this position, we had to replace a couple of different windows for broken glass, and Harvey's really good about replacing the glass, but they won't give you the sash because they don't make it anymore, the vinyl sash. So you have to take the sashes all apart, keep your fingers crossed that nothing breaks, put it all back together, fit it all back in, and gently put it in the jam, because all the clips and hardware, a lot of them are broken, so you can't even tilt them in.
Yeah.
because all the aluminum, cast aluminum clips are busted off, and you can't get the parts anymore. So, again, that's something that we need to definitely keep on the radar, because that's coming down the pipeline as well.
I'm assuming that as you're getting more and more into facilities management, you're starting to put a book together here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is a lot. This building, obviously being the oldest, one of the older buildings we have, the library would be the oldest, but that has been, that was totally refurbished in 2006, 2007, they put the addition on there. This building, we just moved over here. It was an elementary school. I went to school here, grades 4, 5, and 6. And, you know, when they built the Heritage School, they gave us to the town, they just started moving the offices over here. So we never really, I mean, yes, I think Bay Path came in and did some raised paneling work, but we just kept throwing pots on it. And we never really had like a true refurbishing. We're at that point now, we need to start addressing some of these issues, especially with the climate and the weather and the windows, roof, and so forth. So that's stuff that we need to really, then we can start working on some of the interior stuff as well. Carpets, the carpets are terrible throughout the building. They're just falling apart. You know, you move furniture, those things haven't been replaced since I've been here, 25 years. That's a lot of mileage on some carpets. Not many people keep carpets in their house for 25 years, let alone a high-traffic building like this. So, all things that we need to take in consideration.
Okay. Any questions on facilities?
No, sir.
Next time, try and bring some good news.
Yeah, we're all here.
And by the way, I've got probably a couple of thousand slate tiles down at my house, if you ever need a piece, all right?
Duly noted.
I know they are hard to get, that's why
They really are.
we've held on to them.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Okay,
coming in.
thanks, Jim. Municipal, okay. You're up, Michelle.
Good evening, everybody.
First of all, I just want to mention there's my candy to sweeten you up. Green.
Thank you.
No, you're supposed to.
I know.
He's gonna wait till it comes back around.
And take everything that's not been taken.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Michelle Drum. I am the Director of the Council on Aging Senior Center. And this candy lady here is my chair, our wonderful chair of the Council on Aging, Sue Crockett, who's also a former Council on Aging Director.
Nice to meet you, Sue.
Sturbridge.
Yeah.
So, walk us through your budget.
Okay. First part is salaries, as we were instructed to do. Mine, our outreach coordinator, our kitchen assistant, and the request that I have is a modification of the activities position, because it is vacant at the moment. It would be an ideal time to modify it. It is, we've grown exponentially. I know I gave you probably a very verbose packet of information. It's my first time going before the Charlton, so I wanted to make sure that I erred on the side of too much rather than too little information. So I apologize if my packet was a little extensive. So if you can see, just, I took the liberty of making some statistical runs at the last 3 years here. And if you'll see, just take for instance, this month, for March, in 2023, the average daily attendance was 53 people going through the doors for events or lunch. In 2024, it was 69 people, slight uptick. This year, we're at an average, and we're only halfway through the month, of an average of 79 people a day coming through the door. Also want to just point out that the baby boomers are here. And we now currently have about 4,100 seniors in Charlton, with another 237 entering the rolls of senior citizenhood this year alone. So we are feeling the growth, and when we were talking about at our council meeting that it felt like it was growing, so I just did all of our statistics off of our database.
What is the age at which you crossed the benchmark here to go from
60.
regular to
60,
So you're
yes.
talking about people over
60
the age
and
of
up.
60?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Unless they're disabled though, you know.
Disabled adults of any age, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So, I would respectfully request strong consideration to modify the activities assistant position that we have. I would originally, the initial request was to have an additional whole body, a new position added, but in further consideration of the town's circumstances with the budget, I think the best case scenario would be to take the activities assistant position, which is currently at 15 hours, and increase it to an admin assistant position in order to have some front office assistance with the inundation that we are definitely experiencing. So that it would be to 24 to 28 hours a week, would be average of 6 to 7 hours a day, 4 days a week. That would help us handle a lot of the foot traffic that is constantly, I need a deli number taker outside the door. So, help with filing, with data entry, registering new seniors. The durable equipment loan closet is extremely busy. As soon as a wheelchair comes in, it's out the door. We even have therapists coming here now because they know that Charlton has got one of the best durable equipment loan closets in all of the surrounding communities. So with this, and it's only because we have very generous, residents that come in with their durable medical equipment, whether it's walkers, wheelchairs. I'm not asking for walkers right now. We're inundated with walkers, so we do need wheelchairs and commodes and bath chairs and things of that nature. But that position would just be life-changing, because right now it is an extremely hectic, chaotic workplace.
Okay, so this budget has 15 hours
So,
in it.
at the time she submitted the budget, the activities position had somebody in it that didn't wanna go full-time, or not full-time, but.
More hours,
More
yeah.
hours, so she was asking for an additional body.
Yes.
Since she submitted budget, that activities position is now vacant, and they're having a hard time filling it, cause who really wants to work 15 hours a week?
Right, so
Thank you.
this number
Thank you,
here
Ashley.
should, well, it reads 15.
Right.
You're asking that it read
would
24, so the number associated with it would be, let's call it 24 times, what is that, 260?
Yeah, so like that,
Okay,
that,
all right.
so basically the activities, like that 15 hour would go, and that
Yeah.
24 hour position would be.
Yes, and Lynn marked it as 24 to 28 hours at $22.66 an hour for giving a total of $28,300 to $33,100 for salary.
Okay, so it's, I see where it's
Can I
down.
ask a couple questions about that?
Of course.
So the salary currently lists at 1738. Why would we increase it to 22,600?
That was, Lynn through HR recommended that because it would be half activities, half admin, and she's looking to make that job has historically been extremely difficult to fill at the current wage, and the job would be kind of half activities, maybe even 3/4 admin and partial activities. So she's trying to make the job more attractive because it's just not being filled.
Okay, and my other kind of question to that was, but then, once we kick over 20 hours, then we have to pay benefits.
Yes,
So then we have fringe that we don't currently have.
that's the big ask. Yeah, and, we're trying to get the position to be a little bit more lucrative for people to actually apply, but the need is just clearly there. It is, it's chaotic, and we need, I'm not sure there's many departments that can function without a front office person, and we don't have one. So I would just,
As an interim situation, while we go through this budget process and kind of however it flushes out, have you considered reaching out to the Medical Reserve Corps to see if they have any non-medical volunteers that might be willing to help?
that's actually a great suggestion. I'm actually working with a former, we have an outreach opening right now that just recently occurred this week, and I have a former outreach coordinator who wants to volunteer for us in the interim also, which will be a huge help, huge help, just for a short time. And she's like, I'm gonna, you know, she's very boundary with, you know, how many hours she has and how long, which is fine, but to help us just get over the little hump of having 2 empty positions in a 4-person operation. It would be a
If you're
huge
that
help.
busy, it might be useful, and
Very much so.
Andrea or Jim at the health department should be able to get you connected to the right people for
I
it.
appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And if I can have one more sentence here. So you also have outreach coordinator on here, and I wondered if our outreach coordinator partners with the outreach coordinator through the health department, because you probably serve either the same people or people that are in similar circumstances, and maybe that would be a way to provide, to find out more resources that are out there to help
Yeah,
people.
They definitely were very well connected, the two folks. Mary handles a lot of homeless folks, and
Yes.
and that's not normally what the population that we're handling, but I think Mary used to be in the position, and so she does, she has in the past provided the former outreach coordinator some, you know, helpful advice, but it's 2 different populations.
Okay, there's that position, that outreach coordinator position for health, kind of is in a lot of different shared services arrangements, and they all kind of do it a little bit differently, but a lot of them work on hoarding, and a lot of them work on caregiver assistance,
Mhm.
which I'm sure that you must have a lot of need for. If we have 4,100
We
seniors
do.
in town, there must be a lot of learn how to care for your older family member type of scenarios. So, I don't know if that's Mary's forte or not, but there are resources to kind of work together with that.
Yes, a lot of what yes, thank you. A lot of what the outreach coordinator does in our office also pertains to fuel assistance and running the tax work-off program and SNAP, mass health applications, home visits, coordinating care, elder abuse. We deal a lot with, you know, unfortunately, sad to say, there's elder abuse situations that we are, as mandated reporters, are required to handle and report through the proper channels.
Sorry to take up so much time.
No, I appreciate it. It's very helpful. And then the thing with the overlooked meals, we had an in-house cook last year who was beloved. And unfortunately, as soon as he told us that he was retiring and gave us a date that he was going to retire, he became ill and was immediately gone. So Andrew was very helpful in getting Overlook here, because at the time, we had meals 4 days a week through, well, 2 days a week, 2 days a week through our in-house cook, and then 2 days a week through Tri-Valley Elder Services. And at the time, the sentiment was that we love the in-house cooking and boo to Tri-Valley Elder Services for quality and whatnot. But they've since have had a new director take over the nutrition piece of Tri-Valley, and I have seen and you know, anecdotally heard from the seniors that there is some improvement with the Tri-Valley meals. I am in the process right now of taking a in-depth food survey through the seniors, which I'll probably be able to conclude next week, because the Overlook Meals has a good penny cost to it. At this year, we took the cook's salary, because it wasn't being used, to help cover the Overlook meal costs. So I really would like to, before we move forward with a full request for the Overlook meals, because this was kind of done before the changes took place at Tri-Valley, I'd like to complete my food survey over the next week or so to get a real flavor for, so to speak. Thank you, Sam. For like how the seniors are taking to the Overlook meals or the Tri-Valley Elder Services meal, because there will be a cost, like with the desserts, regardless of whether or not we go through Overlook or Tri-Valley. Overlook doesn't supply desserts, and the Tri-Valley ones are basically a fruit cup that is not being accepted by the seniors at all. They can't open it, they can't open the fruit cup, and they're saying it lacks flavor and lacks variety. So So I really would just like to finish the survey to see, where the seniors feel about the meals, because Tri-Valley is much cheaper for the town. It's extremely much cheaper. But however, there's no value to a meal that a senior doesn't eat. So, I have done maybe 20, I've tallied up maybe 20 of the surveys. I've got another 20 on my desk right now. And there are comments, it's almost like polarized. It's either yay Tri-Valley or yay Overlook, but there's,
No happy meeting.
yeah, there's not a real happy medium. So I'm just want to get a full complement of the data before I really have to be raw Overlook, we have to go. So I want to spend the money, I want to request the money like it's coming out of my own pocket,
And I did learn, and I spent a lot of years working in the seniors community, the one thing you don't mess with is the food.
Yes,
You can do it, you can change activities, you can
Yes.
change wallpapers, don't mess with the food.
yes. And I have seen some comments that say, I will pay the $7, I love the Overlook meals, and then I have some people saying the Tri-Valley is much better value for my wallet, because it's a different pricing for Tri-Valley as it is for
Right.
Overlook. And the town is supplementing the Overlook meals,
So this budget contains what, the Overlook
yes,
budget? Okay.
$65K.
That's how many meals a week? Couple?
We're doing four-day, for Overlook is 2 meals a week. The first, on a Tuesday, is a full hot meal. It's typically 30 to 35 people. And then on a Thursday is a light meal with a smaller price tag. It's kind of like a soup and sandwich or a hot potato bar or something. And that's what we charge the seniors. They're kind of like, they're supplementing what the town is paying. The town is, paying the lion's share of it. The Tri-Valley is a suggested donation on Mondays and Wednesdays of $3, suggested donation. We put an envelope on the table, and we don't ask who put in what, or if they put in anything. That's for Tri-Valley meals. Town does not pay for Tri-Valley.
Right.
Overlook meals, Tuesdays, it's $6, take it, eat in, $7 take out for the container and all that. And on Thursdays, which is the lighter day, it's $4 eat in and $5 take out. But the fee for the town overall is $21 on Tuesdays and $12 on Thursdays. So, and they're cooking it, they're shipping it here, they're heating it here. They're coming here with staff, heating it, getting it to temp and all that stuff. So that,
Yeah,
it's a big ask for that,
Are there restrictions on hiring a caterer, or it doesn't sound like a caterer? I don't know if a caterer would be interested at that rate or not, or. It's kind of low.
We have looked at numbers like that, and it's just not something that, we need to have elder nutrition standards. So that's why we went with Overlook, because we need to abide by elder nutrition standards. Now, when we had our cook here, he'd give you a bowl of soup, and it was like a trough of soup. But now we're with Overlook, and they give us an elder portion of soup, and some of the seniors are like, where's the rest of my soup? But it is what is supposed to be consumed for elder nutrition, national standards. But they're just comparing it to the overabundance that we had prior, and it's really not what the government says is what elders should be consuming.
Have you guys explored partnering with Bay Path?
We need a group that is year-round. Bay Path would be not year-round.
APAS doesn't, they just do preparation on Mondays, and then the senior center's not open on Fridays, so it'd only be those 3 days. Then there are vacation weeks, of storm days, it would be very inconsistent. No summers, of course.
And
It
also
might be
just,
more affordable.
yeah.
That would definitely be more affordable.
But we would have
Well,
weeks that we wouldn't have.
Tri-Valley is the most affordable because, there's no cost to the town. really.
Yeah, but again, if the seniors are refusing to eat a meal, I've got comments on some of the surveys, like I will not eat Tri-Valley. But I don't know if they've tried it recently,
Yeah.
or if
It was
they've
very
only,
good.
they're using the the anecdotal stories of Tri-Valley is rotten, when they don't know that Tri-Valley's made some improvements as of late. So it's a little challenging because, you know, we're trying to get past this, you know, rumor mill that Tri-Valley's rotten, because it's not. But they've had some really wonderful improvements, and they should be proud of that. And so, but I don't know if these seniors are just using the old beliefs and not being open-minded and trying it recently. So.
So when you said before on your chart, you've got 79 per day, how many of those are there for lunch?
It depends on the day, but it's primarily around 35. If it's an event day, it'll be 60.
So if there's some kind of morning program, they may stay for lunch that day?
Yes, yeah. And I wanted to just, I wrote a little something that I just thought kind of gives a little picture, if you can indulge me just a minute. I put, it is not just the socialization that is important, which is the activities, because I've got a line item for activities. It's certainly vital, as countless studies prove that those who socialize live longer, healthier lives than those who isolate. And that is the key, is to getting them in here to not isolate. The activities bring them into the center, and then they find their way in signing up for meals, and then into the outreach office or the director's office to get their quieter needs met. Financial assistance, grief support, coping with health challenges, family dynamics, so sometimes just a hand-holding or a hug so that they know that someone cares. So the activities and the meals are vital to the health and wellness of the seniors. And I also wrote this that I thought was cute. When a flashlight grows dim or quits working, we don't throw it away, we change the batteries. When a person finds them in a themselves in a dark place, we don't cast them aside, we help them change their batteries for as long as possible. Sometimes someone will need AA, an AA battery, attention and affection. Sometimes they need AAA, attention, affection, and acceptance. Sometimes they need a C battery, a little compassion. And sometimes they need D, a D battery, a little direction. And if they still don't seem to shine, we simply sit with them quietly and share our light. I found it, I didn't write that. I found it on TikTok.
If you hadn't said anything,
I
Joe,
know,
we'd have given you the credit.
I couldn't take credit for it.
No, they
I
would've
couldn't.
given you a big
I couldn't take credit for it, I stole it. So, that was the meals and the activities, as you said, Hank, are just key to filling those seats and keeping folks healthy, and not isolated for the long term. Yeah.
Are there any grants that could be applied for any of the expense parts of the budget that could help us to fund what you're proposing?
I have an annual grant from the state that handles, it's about $6,000 a year. It's really not. I'm trying to self-fund a lot of the activities that we can, like if they come to yoga. If I don't have a grant for it, I charge them $5. You know, some folks are saying, you know, it's cost prohibitive for them, and I try to just work a deal with them and just on a case-by-case basis. But most folks seem okay with the $5 per class for yoga or what have you. I do use the grant for the fitness class and the Tai Chi class that we have. Line dancing is self-funded, and 2 yoga classes are self-funded. But, you know, entertainment, activities in terms of speakers, the prices just seem to be, when I was a I should probably date myself, but when I was a new director, you know, it was like $50 to $100 for a speaker to come in and give a talk. It's not that price anymore. You know, we're talking 200 minimum. If I can get somebody for $150, I'm like, you know, and I just had somebody ask, somebody sent me an email tonight. They wanted to come in and talk about constitutional law for $350 for the hour. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'll read them a book.
Call Nancy Cahalan down at the BBB. She will come in for free.
Really?
And yes, and she will do something on, say, scams.
Oh, I
over
got,
this-
oh, yeah, that, I got that.
She's
We
very
just-
good.
Scams
Nancy's very
are, we're
good.
good with the scams, Better Business Bureau, for sure. We just had, the DA's office in yesterday about scams, and I try to get someone quarterly regarding scams, because it is so prevalent. You know, the elders are targeted because they don't wanna be rude on the phone, or they don't wanna be seeming untrusting, but, just as a public service announcement, do not give out any personal information over the phone to anyone, no matter what they say and who they say. If they say they're your bank, don't give out your information over the phone. They can spoof the number and make it look like they're calling from Santander, and they're not. So, now back to our regularly scheduled programming, now already in progress.
How many newsletters go out?
About 800. And we also bring them up to Overlook, and we bring them to CVS and, you know, the library, and up here, and the table up here, and wherever else we can get them to go. We're also trying to get folks to, we have a link on the town website now that says, hey, you can get your newsletter delivered right to your email box, you know, so that, and just give us a call and we'll take you off our mailing list, to save a tree and save the town a few dollars. So we're on that little bit of a campaign, and I think the more that we have seniors that are more computer savvy as they come up through the ages, our newsletter mailing cost will decrease. Yeah. And then there's the database fee for the My Senior Center, which we have a swipe card system there, as most senior centers do, to track usage. I would love it if every single person that walked in the center had a swipe card and logged what they were there for, but that's just not the case. So the information that I have off the database is, you know, of course, not incredibly accurate, because a lot of folks come in and won't do that. Or they'll only come in and they'll go, oh, I'm here for lunch, but then they stay for this event or that event or this event and didn't sign in. But, so, it's what we have that's as accurate as possible. And I also just bought, thanks to Karen Wall, I said, where did you get those? People counter at our
Oh,
door,
yeah.
so I got one of those too. So every little bit of data helps, yeah. So that's what I have for,
Yeah.
let's see, what else did I have? Anything? Oh, Elder Bus, I wanted to just touch base on. The last 2 years, the WRTA has paid for all of the seniors' fees for Elder Bus usage. Last year, there was 487 rides to the senior center on Elder Bus. So we have not had to pay for that. So I have a placeholder in here for, you know, $1,500 for 500 rides. But we haven't had to use it in the past 2 years. I did speak with one of the members of the Elder Bus Board yesterday, and she could not give me any indication if she felt as though that free pass was going to continue this next year or not. So I put it in because I just don't know. We haven't used it for 2 years.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so that's your operating budget.
Oh, and there's one more thing, if I could, just to give you an overview of what we've been doing with the Center Feasibility Committee. The Community Center Feasibility Committee has been looking at 9 Trolley Crossing, the former St. Vincent's Medical Center. The building is less than, let me backtrack a minute. They were initially looking to build new, and that had a large price tag on it of about 22 mil. And with that 22, which is, you know, outrageous, particularly for Charlton. However, it only came with 22 parking spaces. And I could not support any senior center plan that had 22 parking spaces. We can't, that's insane it would not be, why spend 22 million to have a building that no one can access? That we would already outgrow that. So that was a no.
This was rebuilding the main buildings over here.
Okay.
That was a no from me. So on the market came this 9 Trolley Crossing, the St. Vincent's Medical Center building. The building is less than 5 years old. It has amazing parking. It even has 2 electric car hookups in the lot. It has grass out back for plenty of room for activities. And half the building we wouldn't even really need to touch because it's all kind of office-oriented already with medical cubicles. has a big pod in the middle for, a volunteer coordinator and an activity coordinator, or, front desk person, a big pod in the middle. But the only piece is that the right side of the building, and I say right side because that would where the sewer tie-in would be, we would need to install a kitchen, and take down some shear walls in order to have a very large space for, a dining room or a big gathering room. So that would be the only part of the building that would need some modification. So the committee met last Monday, and they wanted to ask for like a feasibility study or engineering study to renovate, what it would cost to renovate that particular building. There's been some other information that's come forward, and maybe we might need to table that request. They wanted me tonight to ask for like 50 grand for an engineering study, but I think that we're gonna table that request, and try to go about it maybe a different way, because the owner of that building, it appears, has a tenant that is interested in leasing it for 3 years or so, and so we might try to do something a little bit differently with that when we go before the select board to get that process approved. So I'm going to try to just table that for now.
Good. What else we got for Michelle? Anything?
But that building is fabulous. It really is.
The building is fabulous, all on one level,
Yes.
very easy to get in and out of, it's not on a main road.
Yeah, the seniors would have a much easier time of
Much easier,
entering and
yeah.
exiting.
Yes.
Plenty of parking.
Plenty of parking galore. Yeah, yeah.
Named a small area.
Thank you for your time and consideration and
Thank
your,
you. Thanks for
your
coming.
guidance, your advice. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
When you leave the senior center, it's so impossible to try to merge traffic going up Dressel Hill Road, that's where, it's a nightmare, so that location would be great.
Yep.
It would also free up the town hall to have more parking.
Well, we all know,
spaces,
so
too.
we all know the advantages, okay?
A lot of advantages.
Yeah, we are bursting at the seams down there. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Of course.
I didn't speak much because I called bingo today and I thought. Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you
Never
for
again
coming.
like that.
Anybody need some candy before we go?
We're good, thank you. Thank
Good,
you.
thanks.
They're a rowdy group down there.
When you said mess with the meals, I thought mess with things.
No, believe me, you don't mess with the meals. I learned that the hard way. So, you okay with what I suggested to the senior center group?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will tell you guys that, and I've been attending those committee meetings, right, just to see what's going on. It is a gorgeous building. It would be a perfect senior center.
And they're
But the
looking
time-
to lease it, buy it? Did they say that? I didn't hear quite
Well,
what the, I know.
So what happened when, Jeremy, when they first got in touch, okay, St. Vincent, it was St. Vincent's, right? Yeah, St. Vincent's had a 5-year lease. He built it for them, right? They moved out after 3.
Yeah,
So he was good for the next 2 years. So the building was just sitting there.
right, paid.
So they, somehow either they got in touch with you or you
Yeah,
got
I
in touch
reached
with
out
them.
because I saw it was vacant and
Right.
potential, so I figured let's at least explore what our options
Yeah.
might be if this is an available site.
Yep. But he's looking to sell it for a little over 4, right?
Sell it, okay.
Yep. We were looking also at, in my estimation, $1.5 million to 2 of renovation, because yes, it needs the kitchen, it doesn't have any large space, okay? And as we were going back and forth, okay, he came up with a tenant, and then the other side, on our side, was to get the approvals at town meeting, at town vote, okay? It's just was past their allowable time, okay?
Yeah, so potentially they have 3 years, and we have 3 years, if we're looking at that building.
Right, right.
Okay.
So what I had suggested to the committee is, let's see if we can't somehow tie it up. Say to them, look, in 3 years, we'd like first right of refusal on that building, and maybe we can come up with something before then. But it would make a great senior center, it would really, and then free up this whole thing. And I've been to some meetings down there, watched what they do, and they are cramped. They are very cramped. It's too bad.
The parking is what's the,
And
what
the
is the
parking,
worst, yeah, because a lot of, and then if it's, let's say it's tax bill due day, now they have a program on downstairs, plus everyone that works here is all parked here.
Yeah.
There's no, you can't get in
Right.
on the street.
And that's on that slope, so you park down below and
Yeah.
you're 79 years old or 60, whatever, and you gotta
Right.
walk up that little thing and try, yeah.
Yeah, we really wanna find a permanent solution. The difficult thing right now is, we have a couple of major projects going
Right.
on.
Yep.
We
Yep.
wanna get through those major projects before we start committing ourselves to the next one.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So that 3-year timeline might be great.
right.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna put this one on the nice-to-have list and not need-to-have
Right.
type of
I would
thing.
just look early into what the 3-year tenant is going to do to the building.
Nothing.
I think it's another
Nothing.
medical.
The building owner said that they want minimal
Okay, that's good,
reconstruction.
that's good.
So, and the other thing, maybe what I'm hoping, okay, is maybe the school department says, hey, you want this building over here? Okay.
Well, and that's the other unknown, is what their long-term plan is, like, 'cause I think,
Right.
if, as the school develops their long-term capital plan, are they gonna be looking at a major modification to one of the other two schools that we have that might bring the grades that are in the elementary school up? 'Cause that is a 1950s building.
Right.
It may be in their best interest to put an addition on with current, student levels to, end the 99-year lease that they have with
Mhm.
the town for that building, and now it becomes, our, our problem to deal with.
Yep.
So,
That was something that didn't come out in that joint meeting. What are the student levels? Are they still, remember they were declining there for a year or two, couple of
They've
years?
been pretty stable for the last 3 years. I think prior to that, there was some significant decline, but they've been hovering right around the same numbers in
Yeah,
recent
okay.
years. And can't say the same thing about Chapter 70, but, so.
I mean, was that things that you guys would discuss?
Yep.
Utilization of the existing buildings and,
Yeah, but even if we have slight decrease in number of, even if we had, when I was on there, slight decrease in the number of students, they all still need the same level of service.
Right.
Even if there's 22 kids in a class or there's 19 kids in the class, they all still need the same level of service. You still need
Right.
the same number of teachers. You still need the same number of
Right.
subjects. You don't get to benefit from that. And if anything, you probably actually, it's a detriment because we don't get as much money from the state because we have less population. So it means it costs us more as a town
Right.
to serve them.
Right.
yeah. Fine tightrope, you're walking on that one. Let's start with
Yeah, where do you want to start?
just an overview of where you think we're at right now before we, the first thing I think we should talk about, though, is people.
Yes, that's what I was
And
gonna say.
that's
Do we wanna
most
start
important.
talking about new positions? So in your packet, I think right after everything else was the list of all the new positions. So we have the 2 from PD, one being administrative sergeant and one being a dispatcher, both with salary costs. And the benefit costs are gonna be the new FY 26 salary costs, cause we got those numbers now. So it'll be a little different from Andrew's original presentation, cause he had FY 25, so this is with our big increase. You have the EMS officer position at fire, the deputy EMD, but that would be part-time, so there's no benefit cost attached to that one. You have the increase in the part-time person in building, so that would increase her from part-time to full-time, so added benefit costs.
Oh, I was wondering why the benefit cost was almost matching the salary.
Yeah, cause it doesn't matter if once they're
That-
over
that
20
24 is
hours.
just the increase in the cost.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so once
That makes
they're,
more
once they're
sense.
benefited, it's full. It doesn't matter if they're 20 hours or 40 hours, the cost is still the same. The teen service position over at library, and then the council on aging will be a little bit different, because obviously that would now, instead of a new person, it's an increase from 15 hours to 24 hours, but the benefit cost is still the same.
So, right.
So the salary
The
cost might-
28.5 might go down,
It might be a little bit, but
but the
the
26 stays.
won't change,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you guys, I guess my suggestion would be, can you agree as a committee what order you would like me to try them to add them into the budget? And then, or at least tell me which ones you for sure would like to see in the budget, and then I can try to put them in there. I can tell you what, all of them can't go in the budget, where we'd be in the hole.
Right, at least
Yeah.
there's something.
Because like you said, it's $500,000.
Is there any financial input that will come from the monies raised through building department fees that could offset the building department?
I wouldn't project any of it.
Right.
We
I mean, I
can't-
can
we
tell you
can't be
even
certain
without,
on that.
even without his increase, I mean, he brings in quite a, like, he always turns back money, even before Amazon and LNG and all that, he always turned back quite a bit of money to the general, because what happens is his is a revolving fund, it stays in his fund till June 30th. And even before you had Amazon and LNG, he always turned back money, so he's, I mean, I would say he's pretty self-sufficient from the revenues that he already brings in.
Which could include this?
I would say it'd be, I could look for sure, but I would say it would be close.
Yeah, you're not talking about a drastic increase in local receipts, even with an adjustment to the building fees.
Right,
Okay.
so.
That's in my opinion, is, we've said no to the building department 4 years in a row now, right?
He's been asking for a full-time person since
Right.
I mean,
Last year was the year
Was-
that
was
we
the-
got
Right.
a part-time
Yeah.
position
Right.
established.
he's been asking for a full-time person since I've been here. It's been almost 7 years.
Do you ever hear noise from contractors or the public or even homeowners that they have a difficult time getting hold of that department to schedule things because it's not this isn't a full-time position?
I mean, there is a full-time admin in there right now. That would be more to help. I mean, I will agree with Kurt. He is influxed they do have a lot of work in there. And I mean, it's easy because they're revenue generating.
I just
Office,
Yeah,
but-
it's handling, this position specifically handles a lot of the back end, the online permitting stuff.
Right.
So.
And putting permits if the vendors don't, if the contractors are coming that aren't doing it online, they have to input all of that information in there.
I
So,
think it's definitely a necessary position.
Yeah.
I was just trying to say,
I
like,
can,
is there justification because anybody has said it's a long process to go through for
Right.
me to get my permit,
I
in
don't know,
hand.
I haven't heard any complaints, but I guess
Maybe they would go
Kurt
to
would
Kurt.
hear them, yeah. So I mean, that's a question I can pitch to him if,
Oh, I just wonder if
matters,
even,
but-
if it's worth even just trying to get a sense, like in a survey format, because it could justify
right, the need.
to us and the Board of Selectmen and the town,
Right.
town meeting, the necessity for it.
See, I always think if you want the town to grow, right?
Right,
You gotta make it easier for them to do business in town.
right.
I don't disagree at all.
That's, I think, I've not heard anybody ever say, geez, I went up there and it closed because they were out to lunch, or I've never heard that story.
Right,
I
But
just-
I've heard that, it shouldn't take me 3 weeks to get a permit. That's the,
Well, and sometimes it does, because, I mean, I work in the Board of Health and it's 45 days to have a plan review go through.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily take 45 days, it just could take up to that.
right,
But I thought, if I was gonna try to justify this for myself, I would be saying, this is how many people come to me and tell me that it takes too long, or the process is too cumbersome, or we need assistance to say, hey, you're missing this piece of paper, and that's gonna hold you up. I don't
Right.
know.
What I like is I hear revenue generating.
right.
And this is a conversion, it's not a new hire. They-
Right,
they
so
go from part-time.
they currently have a full-time admin in the office already,
Yeah.
and then a part-time department assistant in the office, so you'd be converting the part-time person up to full-time,
Are they willing to do that?
yes.
yeah, she is,
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to remember too, they're not only are they there, it's not just Kurt, it's Kurt, you have an assistant building inspector, you have a gas inspector, you have a
Yeah.
plumbing inspector, and
All
you have an
in that
electrical
office.
inspector, all in that office, and before we hired that part-time person, one person was scheduling for all 5 of those inspectors. And then handling all the phone calls that are coming in to direct where they need to go, because your plumbing, your gas, and your electrical inspector don't work in this building.
I think that, as far as the complaint goes, people are reluctant to complain about to those offices. When you really think about it, they don't wanna cause waves, they don't wanna fight. And so it's not something that I would expect to get all kinds of complaints from.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I
Maybe
complain
complaint
right
was the
now
wrong
that this
word. I
permit's
just
taking
meant like.
4 weeks.
feedback.
Next permit's gonna take
Right.
me 8 weeks.
I haven't heard anything, but I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah,
I would
I'm the last
support,
to hear
I would
things, but-
support that.
It's about the streamlining of the
Right.
service, any pinch points, especially with permitting, we wanna try to smoothen out, so that way it's not well, your permit got held up because the administrative assistant didn't have the capacity to
Right.
process it, or even though it was reviewed and approved last week.
Right, because if she's out on vacation right now, you don't get any if the assistant building inspector is out on inspections and Kurt's out on inspections, you have no one in that office at the moment. At least if you had two, you could stagger.
Right. Now, I know
But-
there are some that believe that public safety takes precedence over any administrative.
Yes.
Type, all right? So if we look at these public safety, police, fire, they've each looking for 2 people, right? We've given fire and police some serious upgrades over the last few years, right? Are not fulfilling these going to hurt those departments? Or have they reached a point where they're now pretty sufficient and this would enhance their services? Versus something's not getting done?
Right.
I know that he had said the other day, I think it was the fire chief, about someone's got to schedule this and schedule that and schedule this, okay?
Right, I would say if they're asking you for it, it's not just, I would say that if they're asking, they've probably exhausted all their other options, that's why they're asking. I would say that they're probably not just asking because they're like, yeah, let's just try.
Yeah.
I would say there's probably a serious need for what they're asking for.
But one of them here is an 8th dispatcher, okay? Did we just give him a 7th dispatcher?
Right, so the primary goal with that is to try to have 2 on.
A shift.
For
No,
every.
and I
for
got
every
the
shift.
explanation.
Right,
You know.
because essentially, you can't plan out when your emergencies are gonna happen,
Right.
and right now, even with the 7th, you're still having that gap of time where you have to try to float, all right, where can I anticipate that major emergency not happening and I can get away with one person on, when, now with, dispatchers, it's, you have to stay on the phone, you have to do EMD, you have to dispatch fire, you have to dispatch police, you have to, transmit those communications, all while staying on the phone with the person, and also, fit in restroom breaks and stuff like that. In the event of an emergency, you kind of need those 2 people. And that's why we really had that goal of trying to get to 2 people on per shift. And it's been a slow climb to that, but I really do think that, getting to that 8th person
Right.
puts us in a good spot.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of load leveling that takes place, though? I mean, if you call and the first dispatcher's busy, you don't get put on hold for a half hour.
The call rolls over to Southbridge as the backup PSAP, but then is transferred back over to our primary PSAP once they become available.
Right.
Right,
So,
so they'll
but
get
'cause-
somebody if they need it on the phone.
Right, so they'll get them on the phone, but say if that call rolls over to Southbridge, Southbridge dispatch does not have the capability of dispatching out our
Right.
assets to
Right.
call. So they have to essentially be on hold with that dispatcher until they can be transferred back
Right.
into
The
Charter.
dispatcher can do like EMD if it's something, but if it's something that needs somebody to come out immediately, you're not dispatching Charlton people because they can't do that.
And the dispatcher's the only one that can do that.
Yep.
So what is the differential between what you're estimating we're gonna collect in revenue and the total ask of all these budgets?
I think we're 250 in the hole. Not
If you
terrible.
try to fund all the positions.
Correct. And all the asks.
Right, not just positions, but
Right.
also.
But I can tell you, looking at it, there wasn't much increase in anyone's expense accounts. Nothing that was astronomical. The highest expense ask was council on aging. Everybody else was like.
That was $85,000
Right.
right there in that one.
Everybody else was like 1%, 2%. No one really had that. Right, no one else really, so I really don't have much wiggle room with expenses.
Right.
If I'm cutting, I need to cut positions.
The major increase with that, or with the council on aging position, was really from the standpoint that
Right.
we eliminated a position and used the salary to offset
Right.
the additional expense.
Right.
And it was for, it's basically a pilot program to see if it worked.
Right.
But it shows a 399%
Right,
increase.
no, right, yeah, because you went from 20,000 to
It was also
100.
based off of what our
original.
what our original attendance was. And then the better food increased attendance, which increased costs.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, the more programming and activities she's bringing, which are great for the seniors, is driving now the food costs up, because now they're staying, oh, I can have lunch, oh, the food's great, I'm gonna stay and eat.
Yep.
And I
So,
believe that what she had was based off of
it might be off of 4
providing
day.
it for 4
Yeah.
straight days, not the 2 and 2 that we're currently doing.
Right.
Okay.
I think that was to move, because no one really liked the Tri-Valley meal, so no one was coming for the Tri-Valley meals, but now that they've changed,
Yep.
so,
So there's a $250,000 difference
Yep.
between what you anticipate bringing in and what we've asked for,
yep,
It's not
in-
bad.
on
It's not
including
terrible.
all the positions.
right, yeah.
So will we get the opportunity, is that the 26th? We get
So-
the opportunity to go line by line?
Yes, so my plan is if you at least give me an idea of what positions you wanna see in, I can give you a balanced budget with the positions that you ask.
Yeah.
Or at least try to fit as much as what you want in there into the budget. And then we can go line by line, and then we can nitpick everything.
Can I ask, if we were to look at funding an administrative sergeant salary at 20 hours instead of 40 hours?
Yep,
We're still looking at $26,000 benefit, no matter how you cut that.
right.
Well, the problem is you're not gonna hire a part-time sergeant.
I'm just,
Right,
I mean, I
so-
could pick a different one, but I'm just
But
saying,
I'm
like,
just
if
saying,
we.
like, even if you,
Yeah.
if you were gonna say it was that, then you'd say more or less, we're gonna start the position in December versus
Okay. Right.
starting it year. But again, now we have to start looking at FY '27.
Right,
Right.
it's gonna be double
Come,
then.
right.
Yeah, but I was just trying to say, like, if one of these positions, I don't know, if we took any of them and we made it we said, well, we can't fund it full-time, but we're willing to see that you have a need, and we're willing to fund it part-time, couldn't we get closer to the number that you just said?
Potentially, yeah. I think if you're gonna fund it part-time, I would do it under 20, I would do it at 19 hours.
Yeah.
And then that keeps them under
So then keep
benefits.
the,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you eliminate 26 grand right there.
okay. I wondered if we asked any of the police, or both police and fire, if any of these were only gonna be funded partial, which would you prefer? You
Right.
know, if you asked for 2 positions, which would you prefer to be
Right.
partially
I think
funded?
at that point, I think I would say, if you're asking for 2, pick one, rather than
Okay.
fund them part-time, because then you get
Okay.
into,
Yeah.
I think it'd be
Or which
harder
one
for
you would-
them.
Or even
Right.
which one would you push off for 6 months?
Right.
Rank these, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think possibly the same could be done for the COA position, bring that to 19,
Yes,
which
yep.
would save,
You'd save 26 grand in benefits, and then the
26
salary
plus.
won't be accurate, because I didn't reflect,
okay.
because that's she's got a new opening
Right.
down
Okay,
there.
and then from a data perspective, just pointing out to the committee, the bottom 2 bullets are half of that 250, so that's 125.
I
those
just did
two.
that too.
Yeah, and then Ashley, could you go look at, I think what I heard is, building is bringing in more than they really need, and they're giving it back, so what's that gap? Like, they're looking for, $50,000 here. How much of that could they potentially
All right.
fund?
Let me, off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'm gonna have to go back and look and then average out, because we've had Amazon and LNG the past
Right.
Yeah.
3 years. I'll have to go back to like normal times and look,
But you're-
I can
That
look.
would skew the numbers.
Yeah,
Of
huge,
course.
because
Of
Amazon was $1
course.
million on its own each for 2 years in a row.
But you're essentially saying every year he could fund
Yes,
$50,000.
every year
Right.
he turns
But
back. I
already
would say
he's turning
probably
that back to us, so it's already the pot of money. We're
It's
talking
already
about
built
the,
into our local.
we already
account.
need that to fund our
Right.
current budget.
Right.
So
Well, actually,
You know
I
what I
don't,
mean?
I don't,
Even if
I
it's
don't budget
self-sufficient.
anything for him turning back
She
money in
doesn't
my
account
local,
for
I'll
it.
have to look. I don't think I have him
Oh,
in
so
there,
then-
because his isn't guaranteed. What if he doesn't turn back money, then what do I do?
Yeah.
Okay, so then that would bring
Right.
us to this, I know we're not talking about it now, but then that would bring us to this supplement, like what we would do at the end of the year if we had extra money.
Right, you would
As a
trans-
one-time.
Right, right,
And this is all based off of what we have left on the table from the fall in free cash.
right.
Okay.
So,
And I just want to finish that thought, because it's not also lost on me that, yes, Amazon brought in a ton of additional revenue to building, but Amazon is also causing a strain with police and fire.
Right.
So I wanted to tie that
Right.
together.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah, one that seems a little unfair too.
yeah.
I mean,
They're, Like, and I know in Andrew's office alone, like we've gotten so many parking tickets lately, cause they're up there, they've been doubling their shifts. So, they've been parking because there's nowhere to park up there, cause they have 2 shifts in there at once. And we've had so many parking tickets come up here, and that's all PD writing them, and then Andrew's office taking all the tickets in, and now we're collecting revenue from that. So not just are they going up there for calls, now they're also going up there, they're writing parking tickets, they're going up there for all those calls, like it's,
Isn't
Are we
that
getting called up
private?
there for parking?
Why, yeah, why are we
They're-
going up
they're-
there?
Yes.
They're asked
So
to come
we're
up and
policing
enforce.
the
They are
entire
asking-
thing.
yes.
They don't take on any responsibility.
well, they're asking
No,
us to
it's
come there and
private
enforce.
business.
Do you know security?
They want us to come up there and enforce their parking, because they're parking in handicap spots.
I mean, that seems like why,
I
I don't know that
I'm
I
not gonna
support funding
complain.
additional police
That's
to
free revenue to
enforce their
us.
but
Well, no, but
it's
that's free
their
revenue to us, I'm not gonna
private
complain.
But it
property and
is adding to our
business.
demand on.
That's the
police
thing,
department.
right?
And it's taking away from our citizens on any
Well,
other
right,
property.
but it's also revenue coming in, you get $100 per ticket parking in a handicap spot. You get 100 tickets.
Well, I guess that's a way to help us.
Well,
offset
right, I'm
some
not
of
saying
that
that's gonna
cost,
fund a position, because that at some point I'm sure will dwindle, but.
And it's taking away from response time if we have officers up there. I think that's a terrible position
but-
to,
I mean, I own a shop, I own a business in town, I cannot imagine calling the police because one of my employees parked in a handicap. spot.
right,
That's absurd.
Yeah.
it really is.
I don't even know how many tickets you've done, or have,
About 200.
yeah.
All right, to go back to Ashley's original question. So if I was to rank them, okay, and maybe you guys want to do the same thing. I would put number 1 as the building department.
Yep.
Number 2 as the police dispatcher. Number 3 is the EMS officer for the fire department. Number 4 would be the library. Number 5 would be the administrative sergeant for the police department. 6 would be the deputy EMD for the fire department. And 7 would be council of agent. That's how I would separate them.
Why would you rank the library where you did?
Yeah.
Huh?
Why would you rank the library 4th?
I guess it's just anecdotal, but I'm there more because of my grandkids and I see how busy they are over there.
But that was the position that they, I'm sorry to jump in, but that was the
I'm on the
position.
same page as you.
That was the position that they told us was to go into our schools and, I'm gonna say, supplant the services that the school budget
Cut.
cuts needed to withstand because of what the towns approved for a school budget. And so I think that that's robbing Peter to pay Paul, that we, as a town, and Dudley as a town, determined that this was the budget we were willing to support, and I supported higher than it personally, but as to the school district. And so the school had to cut the librarians, and now we're saying, well, because you don't have that service, we're gonna back end it through the town library. I completely disagree with that.
And they're doing it, so now they're busing books over from the public library, I'm not sure if you're aware of this,
No.
to the middle school. To hold mock library sessions at the middle school when we have a big, beautiful, unstaffed library at the middle school that the students aren't allowed to touch.
Oh, they can't even go in there and use the library?
They can use the library, but not for the
Books?
purposes of a library.
Yeah, not for taking
You
books
can
out.
go into the computers when your teacher has the opportunity to allow you to, but the teacher still has to supervise you there.
But you're not allowed to take books out from the library
Correct.
at all? Wow.
And they're busing books over now. So I was with you on 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
and I
What would be
stand
your number 4?
with Jamie, I stand with Jamie on, I think my 4 would be council on aging. And if we need to play with things, we bring that down to 19 hours. And it takes at least $30,000 off.
I don't know, my 4 might be deputy EMD, because I feel like, I think we had someone that filled that role that's retired, and maybe it was unofficially filled that role that's retired, but
She was the admin in fire, and when she retired, agreed to stay to do the EMD duties. Stayed for a year and then she left.
and it's, from my
Short money.
outsider perspective, has been a gap.
Yeah.
We lost some.
Andrew and I have been doing it.
I feel like that, to me, would be,
And the
that is
chiefs.
a need as a community for us to plan And then if, God forbid, we ever have some massive emergency, I think that that person is crucial.
Mhm.
That's short money because it doesn't have benefits, so
Yeah.
I hear you on that one.
Okay, so you made the fire number 4? That was, that was your number 4. Your number 4 was council on aging.
No,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
I would agree with Jamie on that being
convinced
four.
you.
Yeah, compelling
The fire
argument.
department being 4,
Yep,
okay,
and council on aging bumping down to 5.
being
For
5,
me.
okay.
And then sergeant 6 and library last.
That's what that's what
Or
I'm
would you
reading.
flip-flop 'em?
And Jamie, you're saying the
I
same,
say library last.
Okay.
you're saying the same thing, okay. So
I
you
was-
agree.
And Jeremy's been quiet.
Yeah, Jeremy's-
No, I'm actually pretty good with that. You can almost fit it all under 250, besides library and police department, if council on aging was, if the benefits weren't there. It's very, you could almost fit it all.
Right.
So you would go building, dispatcher, EMS officer, fire,
My ranking
council,
little
police,
whatever.
library last.
Yep,
Yep,
Okay.
you got it.
But council on aging would only be
19.
19
So-
because we
so-
would say no
okay.
fringe.
I have a
Me.
little more weight on the fire department,
did you?
yeah. And, if the need is there to staff, I think, in the emergency situation, the fire, it's all hands on deck. Mutual aid, I mean, the whole environment is a little different, so if the need's there, I favor that side a little bit more.
Over the police dispatcher?
Yeah, so I went 1, 2, 3, 4, right up, kinda, from building being number 1,
Okay.
fire 2, fire 3, all the way up.
Oh,
Okay. So what you did?
Fire 3.
But that's why I feel like if she puts it in at this point,
Yeah,
we're kind of close.
Yeah.
And she puts it in and we see it, then we
Might
can
go.
finesse it a little
Right.
bit more.
yeah.
If you were to go to police and they were to tell you they needed the sergeant position more than they needed the dispatcher.
He's
position.
probably gonna tell you he wants a sergeant over the dispatcher. Fire will tell you he wants a dispatcher, obviously, over him getting a sergeant.
Right, which is another reason I put dispatcher higher, because I know you
Right.
can do both.
Right.
It helps both police.
I mean, I'm not speaking
Right,
for
that's
either of the
true,
chiefs,
yeah.
but I'm sure that's probably what he would tell you.
Well, so then could we tell them that they needed to agree?
Yes.
Before
that would be
they
my
came
pitch.
back to
Yes,
us?
that would be my pitch,
We
yes.
could, yeah.
I'll try to work it into the budget, see what I can work in, and then from there I would tell them that they need to be on the same page.
Is the 8th dispatcher position a middle of the night position? Like, is it an overnight shift?
Do you know
It's
what?
depending on who bids it.
What
I
is
mean,
that?
right now, it's primarily.
That's seniority, so who
Yeah.
gets
Where's
to
the
sign up
hole
for
right
what?
now?
Yeah, I know Sundays
I
is
miss it.
when.
I don't think I understand this. The 8th,
So,
so is it to fill a gap that we currently have?
so the gap can change based off of need, but pretty much, when the shift bids out, it'll just be another, this is your shift. So
There's
it's
But-
one,
but
there's one
currently-
time frame, Jimmy. There's
I
one
think
time frame.
overnight,
which is
overnight, yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I think it's
it's all-
overnight, so like
that's
11 to
all.
7.
That's
but
what I'm
somebody-
saying. Is that the
but-
one that's currently only one
Yes.
person on?
Right.
Is 11
But because of the
PM
way
to
they
7
bid
AM.
for the shifts, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the same person that's always only there.
Okay, I just
Sorry, I
meant like
got-
where there's a
Yeah.
current gap
Yes, the
is
overnight, that's what I thought.
11 PM to 7 AM.
Yeah.
And some like weekend overnight time.
Is there a call list on how many calls we get in that shift? So that we know if it's really difficult for the dispatcher to satisfy the needs?
I can ask the chief to give that to us. That's
Do you know what
all
I'm saying
logged
about
somewhere,
that?
yeah.
Yeah,
Did
he's
I
got
say
that.
that well enough?
So you want the list,
My
just,
guess is your answer coming back is gonna be,
Any
your
given
answer
day it
was
could
about
change.
school
well,
groups, whether there's 22 or
Yep.
16, you still need.
Oh, I get that. I
base.
heard what your reasoning was, and I support that. But I also, it would be great to know there's an on average 20 calls during that time, or there's on average 200 calls during that time.
Yep.
It doesn't mean it would change my opinion of it. It
Yeah.
just might give me a little more
Just-
information.
yeah, no,
A better understanding.
yep, I can ask him.
Okay, you got a direction to go now on people?
Well,
Yep.
we're closing some of these, more or less looking at the ones that are kind of like mid to low priorities, would you say you could look, or you would consider doing like half a year if it meant fitting within the budget? Like starting it later on in the year,
Right, so
but
say to the
from the
library-
standpoint of,
Yeah, we'll do that position, but you can't start them until September 1.
Or,
type of-
But
or
but then-
October, November, December,
whatever.
whatever,
Then
yeah.
2027, we're back into
that's,
hot water.
I'm asking you guys, you know, is that something you want to entertain or not?
If you were to say, hey, library, if you thought, or I don't know, maybe, hey, council on aging, if you thought it was gonna be more beneficial to use an administrative assistant during this time of the year, and it was like a seasonal thing for 6 months, is that what you're asking?
No, he means more or less, instead of starting the person July 1st, you have a full year of salary and benefits. Start them, say, November 1 or December 1, and then you only have 6 months or
That
7
only
months
helps
worth
us
of.
1 year,
Right,
yeah.
That's his point, right, because
Right.
then next June 1, we
Right.
gotta film.
Then
You'd
we're
be in the
tied to
same-
these
Oh,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. So if you were gonna ask if it was like seasonal employees and we could work it
Yeah.
6 months,
there's only
I don't see
certain
anything wrong
people
with
that are labeled as seasonal that we wouldn't,
Yeah.
and then we get hit with unemployment anyway, so.
Oh,
So
okay.
At that point, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I know this is putting you out there and asking you for, a crystal ball, but to do something like that, you're right, we pay 30,000 this year, and then all of a sudden it's a $60,000 item next year.
Right.
Are you seeing any indication that next year our growth might be a little better? Or, because I know you've talked a little bit about the school budget and what's gonna happen there,
Right.
which is gonna chew up anything on new growth. That's where you kinda gotta look at the,
We gotta anticipate the future.
anticipate the future.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is it's been what, our average for the last 5 years has been an 8% school assessment increase.
Right.
And as long as that's tied to our municipal revenue growth factor, you're gonna see that continue. So it's how many more years are we gonna be looking at that? And that, if we ever saw a major dip in our new growth, that train could come up pretty quick. Even budgeting as conservatively as we can, because you're talking about, 1.6 to $2 million per year increase just on your school side.
and the school does not have a list like this. The school does not get to add people, and so that is literally just the cost of doing business.
Right.
It increases that much, it's
Yeah.
because of just because of the, it just, you can't change the costs that come at you. They don't, I mean, they have a list like this that never even goes anywhere, because you
Right.
can't do anything with it, so you can't rank them even, it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, we all know that school is its own entity
I
and its
know.
own universe.
Except it's all part of the town,
We just,
so.
right, and we just gotta figure out how to incorporate it
Right.
into the rest of us.
Well, the way we ranked it, is it the way, do you feel comfortable saying how you would rank it, or you're not interested in ranking it?
Well, I can tell you the Board of Selectmen would not probably agree with you, because they want public safety first, and I think they've made that clear, that their support is for public safety first, and then everybody else takes the wayside. Public safety, schools, and then everybody else, was how they were viewing everything.
I would just say, if you look at it, you'd probably bump that administrative sergeant higher,
Yeah,
building department would probably be a little bit lower.
right.
Other than that, pretty much everything in
But if
same
we-
rank.
Like I said, I'm leaning on this narrative of like building department, like funding itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, but you're talking about major difference in cost between
Well,
those two
right, too,
positions
yeah.
too, so it's not even a 1-for-1.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So you'll take these numbers now
Yep.
in that order, and you'll incorporate them into the
Yep,
budget.
yeah,
So that's
fit
the
as many
people
positions
side.
as I can in there, yes.
Is there anything anybody heard on the either
I
expenses
think I,
or
let me just see if I
supplies or?
put budget in
equipment that-
here.
I've already made enough, I thought that the cisterns was an important item, that 5,000 at the fire department, because you don't stop maintaining those, they're gonna go to hell really quick.
The 90K in the Council of Aging is.
I was gonna say, is
mean,
there any
it's-
expenses that we saw?
It's a lot.
Pulling them up right
It's
now.
it's a $200,000 budget that went to a $300,000 budget.
Right.
That's almost a new sergeant position.
Right.
Can I find it easily?
In 65,
I
that is
know,
the food.
I know the food is important. It is, but they do have, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
and are they gonna hire, or, you know, would they hire another cook, or they can't find another cook? Is that
Well,
why
I
they
think
went
at
to
the
this?
time, it was very difficult, you know, based off the price point of the position, when you looked at it, between the position and the benefits for it, plus the supplies, you know, to cook the meals. So it was, could we go into some sort of agreement with an outside vendor where we know what the cost is without any of these hidden costs? Where everything was upfront.
Right.
It's not to say we can go back to it, but I would push more or less to, if it's split, you know, 50-50, some like Tri-Valley, some like, you know, some like Overlook, well, then go to Tri-Valley and save those costs altogether and use that money to fund the administrative assistant position.
Right.
I mean, you said, you
Yeah.
called this a pilot that we just did.
Yep,
Couldn't we go back to Tri-Valley?
Yeah.
As a pilot for a year?
right.
And then it, like Jeremy says, it gives us a significant amount of money back into.
Because that's Tri-Valley is free to us, 100% free. Whatever donation that they donate down there goes right back to Tri-Valley.
All right, well, there's the trade-off you were just looking for. Go back to Tri-Valley,
Yeah.
lower cost.
And
of
it's
the food.
basically, yeah, if you went back to Tri-Valley from the administrative assistant, that's the way I would look at that position. Yeah.
So that's the caveat that we say to them, look, you want that position, you mandate that it's gonna be Tri-Valley.
Right.
And I didn't ask, I should have. Did she say, did they offer Tri-Valley feedback?
Yes, the feedback originally was the food was off, like they didn't like
Yeah.
it, the food was awful, they didn't want it.
No,
It was
but
bland.
to Tri-Valley.
Oh.
Did they?
I don't-
Well,
I think that's what incorporated some additional
made
conversations, and that's why they had the improvement
Yeah.
to the service, was because they finally got some
Yeah,
feedback.
no,
And I
I think we
think
hold
there's
them
just
to
a
the fire.
stigma on, it's basically Meals on Wheels, so I feel like they're all like, oh, we don't want that, we don't want that here.
They were going from, you know, home cooked meals
Right.
2 days a week to,
Well, they were going from home cooked meals 4 days a week originally.
right.
Then it got cut down to 2 because the original cook left. They had an assistant cook that he agreed he'd cook 2 days, and everyone loved his cooking. And then they had Tri-Valley the other
Yeah.
2 days. So it was like, well, we got this great home cooked meal 2 days a week, and then
Yeah,
And also, they weren't right-sized.
right.
I hate to.
and it's never gonna compete,
Right.
no service is going to compete with that.
Well, and that's why Overlook is so great because they're already they meet all the dietary needs. Plus, they probably also provide if somebody has a food restriction and an allergy, they give all of that comes over because they're already providing it up there. Yes.
So expensive.
And then I would like to hear the ranking. I know you said what the police and fire would probably say, but I do want to hear that for sure.
Okay. I
As far
think
as what they
both
rank.
of them plan to come to our March 26th meeting, so. But I will ask them in the meantime. Is there any, okay, I guess, what about Old Home Day? How do we feel about Old Home Days? That was the other really big expense ask. So right
Right,
now,
to
we
go
give
from
them
5 to
55
25?
55 to 25,000. So they get 5,500 right now.
Right, they asked for the 25.
It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot.
And did I understand that correctly? We're not gonna do the fundraising as aggressively? Is that the
Well,
reason why?
That wouldn't be up to
I think they were just trying to say that
Yeah.
if it ever tailed off. I didn't think they were saying that they were
Right.
gonna be less
So that
aggressive
money
with
is
their
still there.
fundraising.
I think Mike's
Yes.
point was that he's 80-something and he is the
Right.
fundraiser, okay? And what happens when he can't?
We had no plan in place.
I will say,
It's all volunteer, who
Yeah.
just kinda,
I will say it's amazing what he's been able to do.
Oh,
And as
yeah.
a community, we owe him and all of the people that he gets to donate more than we probably know we owe them. And so that's not lost on me, but I don't think we can fund $25,000
Yeah,
towards
I don't
that.
think it's unreasonable I don't think it's unreasonable to give something and
To increase it.
increase it
you wanna go to 10?
to something, yeah, that seems a little bit more reasonable
Yeah,
and more
well-
responsible on our part.
On our part, right, and
Thinking,
takes a little
forward
bit of the
thinking.
pressure off of him,
Hmm.
okay?
And see
Well, why don't
see
you
where
try
that
that?
goes.
Go to 10?
Yeah, go
Okay.
to 10 on that one. We all get paper and they're working on laptops.
It's just easier because then paper gets lost on my desk. This doesn't get lost. And I'm probably gonna go work from home on it because I'm at training all next week, so I'll probably work from home on this on the weekend.
I will say, things like, I didn't know there was a newsletter that goes out,
Yes.
But anything like that, I don't think I've ever seen anything asking for donations to, as, you know, from citizens for Old Home Day. And so the newsletter doesn't reach everybody, but it reaches 800 people. If there's
Right.
anything else like that, I don't know if the library does a newsletter or anything like that, but if there's a way that donations could be collected or requested from the citizens in the community, like, we go to Old Home Day as a family, I'd be happy to say, gee, I should give some money to that, you know,
Right.
as a family, but I don't know that there's ever been a way to see how to do that.
Right. That's a good know. I know Alicia, their treasurer, is in here, so I can pitch that idea, maybe they can come up with something, but I could ask if our newsletter is free, I think we just pay for postage.
Okay.
So as many pages as we have, so I see if getting closer, like maybe now she can start pitching for some Old Home Day donations and then,
Yeah, if there
And
was
she'll
like
have
a
to
link
work
that
with
you
them.
could go to or whatever.
yeah.
And
We
even
can even
at,
maybe put it online somehow.
and even at, like, the fireworks, where there's hundreds of families.
Right.
If there was somebody walking around with a collection bin, just saying, hey, you guys come up here, does anybody have, you know, you're willing to donate $5, $10 or whatever to, I mean, we never get asked that.
When is the and I could ask Alicia, but when's the last time they raised the vendor fees? Right, so
Yeah, I have no idea.
they get quite a great number of vendors. Those vendors are raising their prices.
Right,
They do well. I
right.
know for a fact.
They sell out.
Yeah, so when's the last, because I know, it's not, is it $25 for a,
I have.
it's
not a clue.
$25 for a private and like 15 for a nonprofit. It's
That's it?
It's
It's
very
very
low.
inexpensive. I might not be right on those numbers, but it is
Yeah.
very inexpensive.
Anything under $50 is too little.
Yeah.
So,
Especially if the companies are making money, I would agree. But yeah, they don't come to, I have no idea what they.
so we thank them for all they've already raised.
Yes.
We're willing to come up a little bit.
Yeah.
But we have some suggestions about
Okay.
maybe other ways that they could
Okay.
try to raise money.
I'll pitch that to,
Yeah.
I'll email Kathleen and
Mhm.
Alicia is usually in here, so I can pitch that to her too when she's here, because she's their treasurer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did, whatever came of the conversation about the recreation director?
So I emailed the was it Northborough?
Yeah.
Northborough Recreation Director, and it's expensive at first, it's a lot of work for someone to take on, but they said once it's running, they give back their fees to the general fund now. It's just, that she said it was a lot to get them there, you need like a seasoned person, but she said she'd be willing to help if we had the funds to take it on. She said you're probably gonna operate in the hole for probably the first 3 to 5 years, and then after that, they were self-sufficient and they gave money back.
I don't know that we're there to do that this year, but I do
Right.
think it's something we really
Yeah,
should
we
be
were
looking
talking about
at.
that earlier.
Yeah, and I think it was more or less like a first step, you get somebody to handle the administrative stuff for the rec commission, because they have nobody right now.
Right.
Like, it's the elected board and nobody else that's handling that, so at least get somebody from a day-to-day perspective to be able to manage the billing, manage the calls, or the scheduling of the fields, or so, and, you know, try to use existing staff to fill that gap. And then if we ever get to the point of being able to create an actual recreation director, then that person, you know, essentially work underneath them.
Okay. It would just bring money in at some point.
Right,
And I don't think it's 5 years. I think it's like 2 to 3 years.
yeah,
But it's a heavy lift
Yeah.
to get there,
yeah,
and it costs money.
right.
It's,
And then I guess we'd have to have a plan of what we wanted them to do, like what was the end goal? Do we want to bring the boosters in? Do you want to just run summer programs? She said you would need to figure all that out before you dump somebody into the position. You need to have a good game plan so they're not sinking.
mm,
But she said she'd be willing to share and help if that's the way we wanted to go,
yeah, okay.
so.
That's a lot, though, just to get that.
Yeah, she sent me a
just to
big
get that
email,
outline,
yeah, so she had a good outline in there.
But I mean, it could be, you don't have to run them yourself to start the
Right.
programs. You could hire outside vendors,
Right.
and then that cost burden just gets put out to the families that have kids that are coming to the
Right,
camps.
right.
And it's already something offering to the kids, and it's something that's bringing money into the town.
Right.
Anything in here you wanna go through?
Touch on it real quick, I was just going through real quick beforehand and noticed I have duplicates, so I'll try to Elevated. Really, I'll just kind of focus right now on the supplemental stuff. Right now, we have about just over $1 million in unallocated free cash from the current fiscal year. Any free cash that we don't allocate will just roll over into the free cash certification for the next fiscal year. But just go in an order of some of the things that we're looking to do, that were specifically kind of related to capital or using that free cash allocation. So DPW snow and ice deficit, right now I put in that number of 183. That's where they currently are, so they may still order another batch of sand just to fill up for the year, maybe some end of season stuff. There might still be a freak storm. But, so, I think we're really projecting probably about 200,000, as our deficit there. So fund that from free cash off the top. The Board of Health solid waste, and waste site cleanup requirements. So this was an article that we did about a year and a half ago. What we did was we had gotten a estimate from CMG for all the work that they project for the next year at worst case scenario. And that's all based off of testing for around the landfills, any contamination site. So, kind of the first year we had done it, we put it in the Board of Health's operating budget. And, you know, they didn't really need as much as what was projected. So they encumbered a lot of, a good chunk of that money. But then we did an article in the fall, so that way it is essentially saying that, all right, here's your projection, spend that money down, and it may go over a couple of fiscal years, but you don't necessarily have to encumber that money, but then when you're done, we'll go and get another estimate for the next year and do it that way. So this is based off of the most recent estimate that we got from CMG for FY '26, was that 414. So it's almost like an operational budget, but it's a high end and specifically tied to contamination testing.
That kind of money just for testing. This
There's
is,
PFAS, 1,4-dioxane, other contaminants around the landfills.
wait, this is not any remedial work. Just the testing.
Just testing, required testing, quarterly testing. Yes.
And once you hit somewhere, if you hit somewhere, it opens.
Right.
Yeah.
And the remedial
It's
work
one of
is
those things when
crazy.
you say why,
Yeah.
because they can.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say that we did just get approval from Mass DEP to move forward with the cap on the old landfill.
Yeah.
And a lot of the testing that is being required was tied to that like the preemptive work needed to do the cap. So that was, you know, really once PFAS started coming into play, and it was every detection. It wasn't whether or not you meet the drinking water standard, is whether or not PFAS was detected, and we know it's in everything. So it was, you hit one well, you go another 500 feet, you hit another well, you go another 500 feet.
Yeah.
Um,
At some point, you're gonna be in the next town.
Yeah, so they did finally reach the end of the line, and then they got an approval from Mass DEP that they could take 8 of those homes off. So I think we kind of have a better handle as far as what the regular testing is going to be, but, you know, we got to plan for kind of worst case if they decide we have to start testing in another direction or for another chemical compound, so.
So this is an ongoing thing. We'll see this again next year. For the following.
Next year, it could be 2 years, and the hope is that we're over budgeting now. It's not as much work as was required, or we don't have to test as much as what CMG is expecting that we're going to test, and we can keep these costs over a 2-year period and then come back and do another article. But this could be a 1 year if it's worst case.
So we passed this in May.
We passed this one last year,
2 years ago.
a year
2
and
years.
a year and a
Yeah.
half of it.
Okay.
As for the cap itself,
Mhm.
you said that they finally kind of came to some agreement with you on that?
Mass DEP approved our plan. So
Okay.
now we're going into the procurement phase for that.
Okay.
So that's about the town had approved a $2 million borrowing 4 years ago. because we didn't anticipate it was gonna take 4 years to get DEP to approve, us
does,
to
though.
actually
Yep.
do something that they were requiring us to do. So, we'll put that out to bid. Right now, the estimated time frame is essentially a kind of awarding a contract for this mid to late summer. They'll start the work late summer into fall, start bringing in the material needed to build the cap around it over the winter months, and then put down the cap liner and close out the middle of basically a year from now.
Okay. Do you have, built into that budget a vegetation plan?
I mean, as far as annual maintenance, that will go. So the maintenance of the current cap is under this solid waste and waste site cleanup, because that
Okay.
was part of CMG's budget, was maintenance of 90 Flint Road.
Okay. It's just something to make sure you have on there. Gotten
Yeah.
burnt from it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's cost that you may not realize something's grown up and, you know, you have to cut it down or get a, like, company in there, and their care has to be different because of the cap.
Yeah, we spend about $6,000 a year on mowing, let's see, probably 3 mowings a year on the current lane.
Yeah.
Landfill.
Yep,
So we're maintaining it, so.
yep.
So we've been carrying that on the books, that obligation, or the ability to borrow that money?
Yeah, it
the last
sits
4 years?
in, unauthorized but unissued debt, so it doesn't, we don't have a $2 million
Right.
Yes, but
right.
no. So there, it hasn't touched anything. It just sits in unauthorized, or authorized and unissued debt. Hangs out there till we
But at
borrow
some
for
point,
it.
It's gotta hit the tax.
It
Not
will
till you
when we
borrow.
borrow for it. So we're actually going to borrow for it in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a year after you actually borrow for it is when
Yeah.
you see
But
it.
to me, that's just one of those things that's going to come.
Yes,
But
so
we'll
you'll
forget
see,
about it,
you'll
right.
see
And then all of a
payments
sudden,
for it in
oh,
the
we could add
26
another
budget.
$1.08 to the tax rate.
Yeah,
We've incorporated that into the operating budget. It's not
Yeah.
excluded debt.
right.
Okay.
So we have to fit it under the levy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you'll see payments for that, the fire station portion that's under the levy limit, and the borrowing for the fire engine that he needs. So you'll see all those debt payments.
Every year you've anticipated that we may have to pay it.
We're gonna have to pay
It
for
was
it in
in the budget.
'26.
We have not anticipated it
For-
for that $2 million borrowing into the budget yet.
Okay.
It will-
Just because we know that it won't hit our budget until a year after we actually borrow.
Right.
It's not in.
You'll have an interest payment for it in FY '26.
Okay.
So you'll see it in the budget you see in 2 weeks.
So then the fire engine replacement, that is just touched on, that's a $1.1 million request. Doesn't impact free cash, but will be an operational budget anticipation. Not for FY '26, right?
No, you will see it. You'll see interest in '26,
Okay,
yeah.
so interest in '26.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Fire department, they have a couple of different capital building-specific requests. One is for HVAC, another one for windows and siding, and another one for floor,
The concrete
yeah,
work,
floor
yeah.
concrete and apron
Yeah.
replacement. Just taking one of them, they're around the same price point, but last year, the town had approved $75,000 for the
Station alerting system.
station alerting system. Chief Barnes decided that that's not a project they're gonna be moving forward with. So essentially, he'll be turning back that money
Okay.
to unallocate it to our, undesignated fund balance. But we kind of look to reallocate money toward at least one of those projects.
Yep.
Ideally, as far as timing wise, like the windows and siding may be something we'd be able to do without, any impact to the station or day-to-day
Right.
operations.
Mhm.
But, as we're talking about the floor and concrete, the HVAC, potentially this, maybe waiting until the fire station number 2 is done.
Yeah.
We can move all of our operations temporarily into into the new substation before closing Station 2 in the Quonset hut, do all that work to Station 1 that's being requested, and then move them back into,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you
Fresh build.
definitely for the floors and the
Minimal.
apron, he said that was his plan,
Yeah.
for sure.
Library HVAC chiller replacement, this was an issue that kind of has been pestering, we just kind of
Yeah.
threw it in there. It's a low cost dollar value. The library had been complaining that it wasn't working properly for the, during all last summer. They would try to at least replace it before the beginning of the really hot weather. The really hot weather and being a low cost, I think we could fit it in, especially with leaving $1 million on the table last year.
Yeah.
And then, as the COA had brought up before, we just kind of threw a placeholder in there
Right.
based off of their request.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
scratch
sounds
that.
like she doesn't want.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, and
Okay.
then this more or less was a carryover placeholder number that we had just kind of put in to say, we know the request is out there based on timing, does it make more sense to do it now or later, but just putting it in there for right now. But that's coming up.
Okay.
Everything else on the 26th plan, I'm sure you've probably, the department heads have pretty much brought up during their hearings, but you'll probably dig more into it anyway, late summer,
Yeah.
early fall, and probably price is subject to change based off of
Right.
market conditions.
And then that's followed by a lot of numbers that'll help put us to sleep.
I don't need help.
It's all right, I cut about 100 pages out of the original print.
It is
Thank
so
you.
nice to look at it using the new software. I was scrolling, like, just flipping through it, and I'm like, this is so much nicer.
Yeah.
And then this is just a reference.
That's,
Yeah, that's
that's the
draft
fall
26.
stuff, yeah.
It's just taking in all the requests that we've got so far, and I already picked out, there's a couple of duplicates, so the numbers should come down a little bit once I pull out the stuff that we did in 25, because I had them all listed as FY 26 requests.
Yeah.
And of course, I printed off the request budget, so there's duplicates.
March 26th is 6:30?
Yeah.
And is that just us, or is that?
No, we've got.
Bay Path is actually gonna
Bay
come
Path.
to present their budget.
But it's not Board of Selectmen.
No, so that would be Bay Path, and that's your first chance to look at a hopefully balanced budget.
Okay.
And at that meeting, we can sign off on.
Yes.
I'm flying in from Charlotte
That
at
day.
midday that day, I think 2:30 is my flight, so I think I'll be able to make it here, but I'm not sure. It's just a last minute work thing, so.
Okay.
And then your April 16th meeting will be Board of Selectmen, Dudley Charlton School District. So that's your chance to talk, and then hopefully we'll have motions for articles for the town meeting warrant, and then budget altogether.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can do both of them at once.
Yeah.
That's our plan.
Okay. You all on board?
Yep.
Ready to move forward and get this done?
Yeah.
Dare I say motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
As a vote. Thank you very much. Good, we got a lot done.